Welcome back to the Kiwi Wedding Podcast. My name is Lydia. I'm an Auckland wedding photographer and your host. This week I'm joined by Libby, and honestly, this is such a good one if you're planning a wedding that feels a little less traditional and a lot more you. We chat about Libby's own wedding day, plus her work as a celebrant and the different hats that she's wearing in the industry too. She is founder of Love on the Run Weddings, and she also manages View 14. Libby was an absolute champ during this recording. We had a few technical difficulties behind the scenes, but I've edited it all up so you won't even notice. Still, I had to say a big thank you to her for being so patient with it all. In this episode, we chat about what wedding planning looked like for Libby, including a bright, fun DIY vibe and choosing what actually mattered to them, her biggest priorities and where she put her money on the day, especially photography and videography, the idea that your wedding doesn't need to be the best day of your life, and why taking the pressure off can actually make it so much better. Guest experience tips that are genuinely practical, like plus ones, weather plans, and keeping things comfortable. A really helpful breakdown on what a registry wedding in New Zealand actually looks like now. We don't do courthouse weddings anymore, maybe you didn't know that, including the rules and restrictions couples don't always realize until they start looking into it, and why Love on the Run Weddings is an amazing alternative if you are wanting something simple and easy. I think you guys are going to love this one. Also, quick mention, if you want more wedding planning tips, podcast highlights, and a few extra thoughts from me every fortnight, you can join my newsletter, The Love Letter by Lydia Rachel. I'll pop the link in the show notes. All right, let's get into it. Enjoy episode 130 with Libby. Hi, Libby. Thank you so much for joining me on the podcast today. Excited to chat about your wedding and also life as a vendor.
Yeah, thanks for having me. It's exciting to be here.
So good. So we'll start with, chatting a bit about your story, how you and your partner met, and a bit of the story of your life together.
So we met the old-fashioned way, as I like to say. We met on Tinder in October 2019, I think. And we kind of met almost by accident. His friend had set up his Tinder account and got his age wrong, which was a great benefit for me because they put him as a year younger than he actually was. So he was at the max end of my my age limit. So if she hadn't screwed that up, we probably never would have. Well, we definitely never would have matched. So that's kind of a fun little kind of way it worked out. But yeah, so we got married 2022, on the 1st of October 2022. So it's been a little while now, but since then we've had a baby and living our best lives. And by living our best lives, I mean not sleeping at all. So
in the throes of parenthood.
Yeah.
Met online, dated for a while, and then got engaged. Can you tell us a bit about your proposal story?
It definitely wasn't a surprise to me. I probably fall into that category of gently bullying my partner into proposing. He's been married before, but so he wasn't hesitant, but he just wanted to make sure he was really, really certain, whereas I was kind of certain very quickly, so was keen to get the show on the road and wanted to get married before I had kids, because in my brain I was like, once we have a baby, we're never going to be able to justify spending the money that we need to spend on a wedding, which isn't how it is for everyone, but that's how it felt for me. So I did know it was coming. Basically, on our first Valentine's together, he took me to stay at this place called I think it's called Casa Tapuru, and it's on the Thames Coastal Road. It's actually for sale at the moment. It's a little bit, it's pretty dated kind of hotel, motel, I don't know what you want to call it, but it's got the most insane views. So we went there for our first Valentine's, and we shared this really romantic meal of oysters and champagne, and then McDonald's. And apparently, yeah, that's the moment that he kind of knew that I was the one for him, as I sat there eating my nuggets and drinking my champagne. So we went back there in January 2022, and yeah, had a nice dinner and sat on the hill and watched the sunset. And he popped the question. Yeah, I'd his taste is slightly questionable, so I told him that I would like to pick my own ring, because I'm wearing it
Yeah,
forever.
fair enough.
Yeah. So he'd read somewhere, and I've never heard this actually, but it makes a lot of sense. I didn't want him to propose with an empty box, and he didn't want to do that because it felt weird. So he decided he'd get a placeholder ring. And now you can get quite fancy placeholder rings. I think like some of the big jewelers do quite like they're like simple, but they are still quite expensive. So he'd read somewhere that you should get a really ugly placeholder ring so that it's immediately obvious to everyone that it is a placeholder. So he got me, I think it cost $6, and it's this really chunky, the metal rings that don't actually
Oh,
fall
yeah.
a full loop, they're
Yeah.
like expandable, and it was shaped like a frog. Yeah, because that summer we'd like found frogs in the pool where we were staying, and I was incredibly excited about this frog. So there was and apparently they symbolize new starts and fertility and a whole bunch of stuff like that. So yeah, it was actually it was a perfect proposal. It wasn't a surprise. There was no one there. I said that was one of my rules was no one. I don't want my family there. I don't want people. I just yeah, it was perfect. And then it was a pretty quick engagement. So we got engaged in January and married in October because I'm incredibly impatient. And yeah, we wanted to start trying for a baby, so we just figured we'd
Get it
do it,
done.
do it nice and quick, rip the band-aid off. That sounds awful, not like that, but yeah, yeah.
So good. Yeah. What did that kind of planning look like initially? What did you have a kind of vision in mind for your wedding? Did you know what sort of venue you wanted? Yeah. Where did you start?
So having been in the industry for a little while and having been on the peripheral of the industry for even longer, I've had Pinterest boards and stuff since I was 20, which have changed.
Yeah.
We did actually go and do a little bit of venue research before we even got engaged, because, like I say, being in the industry, I know how far in advance everything books out. So I didn't want to fall in love with a venue and then not be able to book it for 2 years. So I wanted to know exactly what I wanted so that when the day did come, I could just pull pin and go immediately. But I had strong opinions about how I wanted everything to be and to look, and as a result, I wanted to do it all myself. So we went for a full dry hire venue. We got married at French Bay Yacht Club, which was beautiful. And I'd always known that I wanted to do a kind of DIY thing and do it my own way and have it look and feel like us. That's hugely important to both of us. And I knew logically how much work it would be, but you don't know. You don't know until you're doing it. So part of me is like, oh, would I do it that way again? Maybe, maybe not. But yeah, it was definitely a whirlwind. It was fast and loose for 6 months there. We like things a little bit different. We wanted something really, really bright and fun. We had things that we cared about spending money on and things that we just weren't fussed on at all, which I think is probably pretty key for all couples, is to identify really, really early on what's important to you, and just as importantly, what's not important to you.
Yeah, what were those things for you? That kind of leads into the next, yeah.
For us, probably half our budget was photography and videography. And way back in the day, I worked for New Zealand Weddings magazine, and I used to run a feature called Wedding of the Week. So part of my job was to just find these weddings that I thought were really, really cool and different and beautiful, and write about them and feature them. That was years and years and years ago, but I remember seeing a wedding that was shot by Chris Turner with these, and all the bridal party were wearing these kind of like felt animal masks, and it was really woodland. It had this real like Wes Anderson vibe to it, which I fell in love with immediately. And so when we did come time to look, he was on my list. And I'm hideously indecisive, just like it's like ADHD, decision paralysis. I just get stuck and freak out. So we kind of decided we'd meet with everything. We'd kind of meet one and we'd go from there. Like if we love them, great. We didn't need to meet anyone else. If we weren't sure, we'd meet a couple more, but I didn't want to set out to meet 6 photographers and then I knew I'd fall in love with everyone and feel like an awful person that I then had to kind of somehow reject people. Yeah, so we only met with Chris and fell in love with him instantly. Because like myself, he has zero filter, which and now we're really close friends, which worked out really well. And yeah, initially we were just going to do photos. We weren't going to do video. My husband had seen quite a few wedding videos that were in that very much kind of slow motion, very, very romantic, very not filtered, but very curated. And hey, it wasn't for him. So I kind of sat Chris down and said, I really want video, but I want it us. Like I want it to really capture the vibe of the day. I don't want any slow music video vibes. I want it, yeah, fun and yeah. And now, to be honest, I think we watch our video more than we look at our photos. And I'm really, really glad we spent the money that we did. It was worth absolutely every single penny. There are some things you can go cheap on, 100%. Photography and video is just not one of them.
I mean, that's what you've got afterwards. I'm obviously biased on that point, but yeah, very important.
Yeah, 100. Oh no, honestly, it's one of those things where people go cheap and they regret it, and you can't get it back. There's nothing you can do.
Yeah, I've heard some horror stories, so not something to cheap out on. You do kind of get what you pay for with that.
Yeah, 100%, 100%. Yeah, and that was our biggest thing that we spent money on. Lots of other stuff we did quite cheap. Our venue was really cheap. We were really, really fortunate. My dad owns a vineyard and makes his own wine, so he provided all the wine, which was really amazing. It's tradition in my family that my grandmother pays for us to have our wedding dress made, and comes with us to our appointments, and that's part of the process. So that was a really beautiful wedding gift. If that was not something that we did in my family, I honestly would have bought something off Etsy and probably would have been, my dress is beautiful and I loved that experience that I got to have and that I was fortunate enough to have something made for me. But God, there's such good stuff on Etsy, even like ASOS now. It's Showpo, like options, honestly, it's so good for anyone on a budget. It makes me really happy. I like it, And then we did food truck. We had a really, really awesome pizza food truck that's unfortunately not in business anymore, but I can't remember now. I think, did we have paper plates? I think we had proper plates, but then we also had paper plates, and everyone was just like, and use paper plates. So it was very chill in that sense. No seating plan, nothing like that. So photos and videos, we spent all the money. And I would do it the same way in that sense, for sure.
So cool that you had that tradition with the dress. I don't think I've heard of anyone doing that, with their grandparent especially. But yeah, can you tell us a little bit more about that process, getting it made? Yeah, how did you go with it?
So funnily enough, the woman that made my dress, and now I'm doing that thing where I can't even remember her last name. Her name's Harriet. She's amazing. She actually doesn't make dresses anymore now. She focuses on veils.
Oh, Harriet Falvey?
Yes. Yeah. Yes. Harriet, who is amazing. And funnily enough, I went for my first kind of consult fitting kind of thing with her, and we realized that she used to make clothes that my sisters and I used to buy at markets when we were in our teens and early 20s. And she had this dress that she used to sell, and she was like, oh, just, can you put on this one just to see for fitting? And it was just like a streetwear kind of dress. And it fit me so perfectly that it made, it was just one of those moments where you're like, oh, this is what's meant to be happening. And yeah, she was amazing. I did the kind of the first design of what I thought I wanted and got halfway there and went, oh no, that's not actually what I want at all. So she was amazing. She switched up and changed everything around for me. I did have a short dress, which, you don't see as often. You do see a lot of that kind of like second dress, reception dress thing these days. But yeah, I always kind of thought I'd do the big gown for a long time. Then I actually started to think about it, and I don't think I ever wear really long dresses. I'm short, and it just didn't seem me. So I wore a short dress. I wore boots. I wore pink boots, and I had a really cute little bouffant veil, like a short veil, and it was very kind of Priscilla Presley, huge eye makeup. It's one of those things when people get their wedding makeup done, and I always see it on all the chats where they say, "Oh, you want to look like yourself," and that's totally fair. And if you want to look natural and like yourself on your wedding day, you definitely should. I sat down with my makeup artist, Rachel Macwood, and I said, no, I want to look big and glam and like the most glam I've ever looked in my life. I want the biggest fake eyelashes you can give me. Because I wanted to be
Why not?
bigger. I wanted to be me, but like on steroids. And I don't regret that for a second. I loved it. I think I looked amazing. I was really, really stoked with how it all turned out. And just as equally, I think it's important to acknowledge that grooms can go big. Grooms don't have to wear black 180. My husband wore a lilac suit. That's his favorite color, and I was very, very, very supportive. So he got a lilac suit off ASOS and got it tailored, and yeah, we went bright for sure. Because why not? Why?
So fun. Love that. Yeah,
Yeah.
something different. So good. And did you guys have a bridal party as well? If so, how was that process choosing them? Was that easy for you?
It was up and down. Initially, we were just gonna have two each, I think, and then we got a little bit like, oh, we chopped and changed, and we did end up adding more. We did it in a kind of not interesting way, I guess, but like I said to my bridesmaids, you can wear anything you want in pink. And I was so casual about it and so chill. And then in the lead up to the day, a couple of them sent me photos and they were like, they're completely wrong, like an orange based pink rather than a red based pink. And I lost my shit and had a big cry. And they actually all ended up wearing on the day like hot pink. And it looked great. They all ended up in the same color in different dresses, different styles. It was hugely important for me that they all feel comfortable and confident and like they look really good in what they're wearing. I think not everyone, but a lot of people, you've been a bridesmaid and yeah, like it's not that you have to be able to wear it again. It's just that sometimes someone picks a color and you're like, this is awful for my skin tone, or more realistically, actually, as they pick a silhouette and you're like, this would look amazing if I was 5'10" in a size 6, and now this entire day, all I'm going to be thinking about is feeling self-conscious, and I didn't want anyone feeling anything other than amazing. And I think like they all looked awesome, and including one of my bridesmaids who was heavily pregnant at the time and like looked like an absolute bombshell. So yeah, and also as a result, we paid for their hair and makeup, but we didn't pay for their dresses, which was I think everyone was fine with. And like same with shoes, I was like, I don't care what shoes you wear, like whatever feels good to you. Yeah, if you've already got them, if you want to buy more, whatever. And our boys, I think they wore black pants, lilac shirts, black suspenders, and a black bow tie. And I think we bought the shirts and the suspenders and the bow ties, which were all like very cheap. We were just like, everyone's got black pants, you saw that. So it was a kind of way of not costing ourselves an absolute fortune. I think ultimately our bridal party was too big. We had 4 aside, and really, like, if I did it again, I'd probably go smaller. I think it's easy to fall into the trap of thinking that you have to include people. Like, not that I don't love all those people, but sometimes it's just easier to keep things a bit simpler.
Yeah, totally. And how about the guest list? Did you find that hard to narrow down?
No, I've always been super adamant that I don't believe in inviting people just because you think you're supposed to. So I did, controversially, I invited cousins from one side of my family and not from the other because I have a relationship with some of them and the other ones I haven't seen in 10 years. I'm not going to invite them just to keep things even. The only people that we gave plus ones were people that we knew were coming and would know nobody. So that was very few people. Everyone else, like either we know both of you and we want both of you there, or we don't know your partner, but your friends are here already. So I think that's a reasonable kind of get around. I don't believe in giving everyone a plus one. It's money that you're spending. I also don't believe in denying someone a plus one if you know that as a result they either won't come or they'll be really uncomfortable the whole time. Like, I could go to a wedding and I don't need a plus one. I'll make friends with anyone because that's my personality. But if you ask my husband to do that, he probably would make an excuse to not want to go. And like, if you're inviting someone to come and share a special occasion with you, don't you kind of want? I think the mistake people make is they don't think about whether their guests are having a good time. But then on the on the opposite side, I cared too much about whether or not my guests are having a good time. And as a result, I probably didn't enjoy myself as much as I should have.
That's such good advice, though. I think thinking about like people's personality and whether they need, I don't know, the plus one or not. Great way to think about it. And how many guests did you end up having in the end?
I think we ended up with about 60 or so. And honestly, if I did it again, I'd do smaller. Like, I think part of me invited people that I didn't, like, maybe I shouldn't have, because I was like, oh, but like internally, I think I was like, oh no, I don't have enough friends. Like, this is sad if I don't invite more people. And I think even just in the last couple of years, I've grown enough to be like, you didn't need to do that.
Hindsight's
Like, it's
beautiful,
okay
isn't
if
it?
your family outnumber your friends, that's fine. But yeah, I think that was the absolute max. I could not have handled any bigger. And honestly, like, for me, the bigger the wedding, the less I enjoy it. And I think it's hard to spend, like, for couples, it's hard to spend a lot of money per head. And then the more people there are, the less time you have with all of those people. So you kind of, you either see people when they congratulate you immediately after the ceremony, and maybe you'll see them again when they're leaving. And then you're like, oh, maybe you won't see them again for another 18 months. Like, it's crazy. Just the small ones.
Yeah, the small ones always feel special.
100%. I think everyone's just a bit more relaxed. People have a better time.
You've touched on a bit of the day, but did you want to run us through how it kind of went anymore, and any highlights or favorite moments?
So it pissed down.
Right.
And absolutely poured the entire, well, not the entire day, but the vast majority of the day. But we took that risk. I mean, you're always taking that risk in New Zealand. There is absolutely no day of any year that you can guarantee it's not going to rain. So our biggest thing was we picked a venue that we knew we could get married inside if we needed to. And we did. We didn't leave that decision until the morning of, even, or 2 hours before we made that call. We decided the day before based on the forecast. So we didn't leave it to the last minute. We made the call. And then we weren't stressing about it right up until the moment. Honestly, I'm the kind of person that would have thrown me, and it did. I had to give myself a real pep talk to not let it ruin my day. And basically, I just sat myself down and said, if you let this ruin it, you'll be mad at yourself for the rest of your life. So just go with it and be okay with it. And honestly, it kind of added to the vibe. It was kind of stormy. It was there's this really nice photo of, like, because we were waiting outside to walk down the aisle, which was kind of a side art. It was a weird, we just threw it together and made it work. But we were waiting outside with these like umbrellas, kind of getting windswept. And there's this really cute photo that we walk in, and I was walking with my dad, and I like am brushing the rain off his shoulders, and now it's making me emotional. Just cry, everything. I do still want to go back and read and kind of do another whole portraits shoot. We didn't get a lot of portraits time because it was very wet. Lots of highlights. My husband and I both wrote epic vows. That I was very impressed with both of us, which sounds so lame, but I don't care.
No, makes sense as a celebrant.
Yeah, I was a little bit like, oh, gotta do well, gotta do well. And we did witness bingo, so we had like a little bingo ball, which worked out really well. Straight after the ceremony, we cut and served our wedding cake because I wanted it to get eaten, and I'd seen it done before and I just loved it. Now I tell all my couples to do it if they can, because who doesn't want like bubbles and cake straight after the ceremony, and that kind of like weird in between time. And probably the like cutting of the cake photo was probably my favorite wedding photo, because we both just looked so like hilariously happy. And and we had like a big kind of vintage pink and red cake, which was awesome. Yeah, no seating plan, just kind of rolling pizza. And then we did a like pub quiz. So we did a 3-round quiz. The first round was TV and cinema, which is like my husband's industry and also just one of our big passions. Then we had a finish the lyrics round. So we had some of our favorite songs, and it was really good, like because you got to that kind of everyone had a couple of drinks, so everyone's kind of singing out the last few, which was really really lovely. And exactly what I was hoping for. So I had that moment of like seeing what I'd planned come to fruition and being really stoked with it. And then the final round was kind of our equivalent of, I guess, the shoe game. So rather than doing shoes, I handmade all of these paddles that were like pink on one side and red on the other. Rather than asking us, it was like getting our guests to vote what they like, who they thought something was relevant to. So, I'm trying to remember like what some of the questions were, but we had one. We've got this great photo of the crowd when we were like, "Who's the bigger flirt?" I'm a massive flirt, so almost everyone had their little paddle at pink, and then there's our dear, beautiful friend Martin, who's just one of the most good-looking men you've ever met in your life, and his paddle is on blue because apparently my husband shamelessly flirts with him because he's so attractive. So it had really really great moments like that, and it was a really fun way of like it wasn't just them watching us play a game; it was all of us. It was really really special and different. And for speeches, my husband's best man, instead of doing a speech, he wrote a song. Well, the tune was Major Tom, and the lyrics were all about kind of us. And he had this moment where he said that his main responsibility as the best man was to talk about how beautiful all the bridesmaids were, but he'd never met them before, but they did all look beautiful. So congratulations on not being ugly, which was a really great moment. I still get mad though that my husband cried in his best man's speech song, but did not cry in our wedding ceremony. Hugely offended. We'll bring it up at every possible occasion. By honestly, like 9 o'clock, I was so exhausted. I was
Massive
ready to
day.
go home. I always laugh when I see people looking for venues. They're like, we want it to be later than midnight. I'm like, no, you don't. No, you don't. I'm exhausted. And I think I remember crying because we like hadn't organized how to get like back to where we were staying. So it was like it was a dry hire venue, so we had to make sure everyone else had left so we could lock up. And then when we were standing outside the venue in the rain, had an Uber that like took 25 minutes to come and then cancelled, and I was so tired and over it. But I think yeah, but that's probably my controversial opinion, I think, that I say to couples. And I say it, and I honestly think it comes from such a nice place and it is a nice thing, but I don't think that your wedding should be the best day of your life. I think that's a kind of bullshit, awful thing to tell people. It puts so much pressure on you. Um, and also, it's depressing. Who wants to get married and live another 50, 60 years and the
You've
whole time be like,
peaked
oh, well, that was
already.
the best of my life, only downhill from here? I can say, and I don't think my husband would be offended, I've had better times at other people's weddings than I did at my own wedding. I think it's just because I have ADHD, have anxiety, I'm a massive people pleaser. I spent the whole time stressed that other people weren't having a good time, and then just exhausted from my own like head spinning. It was a good day. It was a great day. There were wonderful moments, but it was not the best day of my life, and I am glad that it was not the best day.
That's such good advice, I think. Yeah, there's so much pressure around it, and then there's so much that you are kind of trying to control a lot of the time. So it's like, yeah, maybe not going to be the most enjoyable. Like, so great being a wedding guest, right? You just get to like soak it up and enjoy it.
Nothing nicer. And I say when I go to friends' weddings, like I will officiate, I'll be your celebrant. Don't ask me to be your MC. Let me have a good time. And I say that to my couples when they're booking, when they're talking about having an MC, because that's something that I offer as well. And I'm just like, and it seems like I'm just trying to sell myself, but realistically, I'm like, if you're going to ask a friend to do it, make sure that this is someone who will actually enjoy it. So many people think it's this massive honor to ask someone and that they're going to be so stoked, and they are miserable.
They don't get to
Because
relax.
you can't be watching the time
Mm.
constantly. You're checking in with people constantly. So what either happens is people are really stressed and don't enjoy themselves. Or they enjoy themselves heaps and they don't do the job. And then
Mm.
you're stressed as a couple. But I'm not, the pressure of so much in the weddings industry is gross to me. Like it, and I think that's why I don't love doing really, really huge, intense weddings, because it just doesn't sit with me personally. I don't have a good time. And yeah, it's work. I want to enjoy it if I can,
Yeah,
obviously.
absolutely. Of course. Such good advice. I think, yeah, one of the most important roles as well in MC. Good perspective, I think, for people to think about and not put all this pressure on that one day. You mentioned a few things, but yeah, what was the kind of the hardest part about the whole wedding planning process?
I think what would have been the hardest part is if we'd tried to do a seating plan, because we thought about it initially and kind of just gave up, because I was just like, everyone's just going to move around. Like, I hate being stuck in one spot and feeling like I can't go and talk to other people, because then if you feel like you get sat with a dud, you're going to stuck. The hardest part is probably not getting in your own head about everything, not getting so hung up on the like freaking Instagram weddings. I see it as a vendor a little bit, and it's something that I'm noticing more and more, and I think you will probably notice it a lot as a photographer, but there seems to be, for a lot of couples, this movement towards being so worried about what the end outcome is, that you're not actually enjoying it while you're in it. And I think, people like, oh, I want all these exact photos of this exact moment. I'm like, those are supposed to be candid photos that were caught while you were enjoying that moment, not like photos that you posed for. Not overthinking everything. Not over rehearsing. I hate rehearsals. Don't do them. They're a waste of time. What I said to myself the whole time is what I say to all of my couples, which is, your wedding is not a performance. It's not a production. You're not being graded. You can't fail. And I think that's why am quite like anti rehearsal, because I think people then think that there's this exact way that everything has to go. And the more you care about those details, the more you're likely to be upset and disappointed on your day, because something will go wrong. No matter what you do, something will go wrong. And the funny bit is, like, sometimes the bits that go wrong are the best bits. I did a wedding and I had a groomsman sprinting across a car park to the car because he forgot the keys. And it was funny. Like, it's not ideal, but you'll remember it because it was funny. I've, as a celebrant, chased like a whole bunch of ducks out of a ceremony, and it was
So good.
hilarious. But no, I just this concept of a rehearsal where you're told where to stand and what to do, and
This becomes really performative.
so performative, so curated, and even things like the whole like dip at the end of the aisle now.
Yeah.
If you want to do that, amazing. That's so cool, and I love that for you. If you're doing it because you feel like, I'm a real stickler for like, you just roll with it. Something happens, you roll with it. I know that in other ceremonies, people stop to fix things kind of mid ceremony and just let it happen.
Yeah,
I think
I
I've
agree.
stopped. I didn't even stop. Once I stopped to adjust a bride's veil because I thought the wind was going to choke her. But just let stuff happen. Let people get emotional. Like, let people take time. If you need to stop and take a breath or blow your nose or whatever you need to do that. It's a human experience. Getting married is a human experience. It's not a performance. It's like my biggest takeaway for everyone and anyone who's getting married or is any part of a wedding. Stop trying to make it perfect. A, it will never be perfect. B, it will be more fun and better memories if it's not.
Totally agree. Such good
Yeah.
advice. Yeah. Did you guys have a budget for your wedding? If you can remember and you're happy to share that, how did you find that whole side of things?
We did. I was very adamant from the get go that I would never put myself into debt for a wedding. We just bought a house, so that was our priority. We were wanting to start a family. We were fortunate to have some help from parents. So like my dad supplied all the wine and my grandmother paid for my wedding dress, those things. But I think ultimately us, so not including what other people contributed, we probably spent about 20K, between 15 and 20, which is a hell of a lot of money for a DIY.
Pretty impressive still though. Yeah.
Yeah. And a massive chunk of that was our photography and videography. I don't think anyone sticks to the budget. We didn't have like a really, really firm number that we had to stick to. It was just kind of as things came up, we assessed together if that was worth it or not and where that would put us. And yeah, how much difference it really made. Where could we go cheap? Where did we not want to go cheap? Some of the lowest budget weddings I've been to have been the best weddings. And I've done weddings that obviously have spent a hell of a lot of money. And I tell you what, the bigger the budget, no way in hell is it the bigger the love, that's for sure. Like honestly, simple can be amazing and perfect. We made our own grazing table with like stuff from the supermarket. My mum and my stepmom and my husband's mum like made things to contribute to dessert. We had pizza, like we had balloons and like garland streamers, and yeah, we did not go crazy anything. There was a whole bunch of stuff that I knew immediately I was never going to spend money on. I didn't do bridesmaids proposal boxes. I was never going to do favors. If you do favors, for the love of God, make them edible, or it's a waste of
Left on the
money.
table so much.
I've
Yeah.
seen so many hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of favors just left there. It makes no sense to me
I feel like they're going
whatsoever.
out now. Yeah. So unnecessary.
But budgets are hard. Budgets are really hard for a lot of people. I wasn't gonna get engaged and save for 3 years so that I could have my dream wedding, because the idea of saving for 3 years and then spending all that money in one day made me want to throw up. And when I say out loud how much we did spend, that still makes me like, oh.
Well,
It's
I've heard much, much more. Yeah.
I've done weddings where the flower was more than our entire budget. Yeah, that was another kind of budget thing we did. We didn't have flowers in the venue. We just had bouquets for myself and my bridesmaids. And then after the ceremony, we immediately split those bouquets up and just put them into little vases all around the reception. And that was heaps. And we had a big balloon garland that my sister made the day before, which was really awesome and probably really bad for the environment. But I definitely don't regret any of the money we spent. And I'm very, very glad every day that we didn't spend more.
Absolutely. Did you guys go on honeymoon straight away? What did planning that look like?
My husband took one day off for our wedding. So we got married on a Saturday. I took the week before off. And I think I took like the Monday after off. My husband took the Friday off. That's it. He's a contractor. So when you work, you work. There's no, no shicking that. I think it was almost a year later we went to Samoa, and we kind of called that our honeymoon. It was kind of a trip that we probably would have done anyway, but by that stage we were really, really actively trying to have a baby, and thinking about if we were going to need to spend money to make that happen. So it wasn't really an option for us to go out and spend a crazy amount of money. It was really nice.
Yeah.
Summer was beautiful.
Yeah. Something to look forward to.
Yeah.
Nice. Oh, so good. Did you have any kind of like helpful resources that you used during planning? I guess being in the industry, you knew a lot of vendors and stuff already, and had your Pinterest boards going for inspo and stuff. But yeah, anything else you want to mention there?
No, I didn't do like a planner or anything in that sense. It was a little bit fly by the seat of my pants. The plan changed a lot in that 6 months. I asked my vendors is the biggest one, which I will say to couples. So I think when I didn't know who to get to do my makeup, because I'm not really a makeup person. As a celebrant, I don't bump into hair and makeup artists very often, because we don't have much crossover. So I went, who works with hair and makeup artists all the time? Photographers. So I asked Chris, and he recommended Rachel Mackwood, who's amazing.
Yeah, she's so good.
Yeah, so wonderful. And I just took that advice. I think that's the best resource you have, is finding a vendor, whatever vendor it might be, that you trust and have some kind of relationship with. Trust their advice. They work with people They know who is awesome. They know who they like to work with.
What is married life like now? You're kind of in the thick of it with your little baby now, but do you feel like you got any post-wedding blues after your wedding?
Oh yeah, yeah. Um,
Mm.
I'm an ADHD kid, so the second the planning dopamine was gone, I was depressed as. But then you just have to find something else to plan. In terms of married life, I say all the time, like, getting married shouldn't change anything. If it changes something, that's weird. It shouldn't change anything at all, and it didn't. I feel no different. I'm 2 years down the track, and it's still kind of weird to say my husband. My name changed from Davies to Davison, so it's
Amazing.
like not not a big leap. I still haven't changed all my documents or anything. It's honestly made very little difference, which I think is probably good.
Amazing. So cool to hear yeah, about your experience. And yeah, it's just so valuable, I think, for couples you're working with to have kind of both perspectives. Yeah, can you tell us a bit about you, what you do, and your kind of background, how you got started with your business? And yeah, we're going to talk about a few different hats you're wearing, but yeah, sort of that background, that yeah, how you got into it.
So my Celebrant work started kind of a very long time ago. The idea started, at least. As I said earlier, I used to work for New Zealand Weddings magazine, and I used to actually sell Celebrant advertising. So I spoke to a few celebrants, and I was a real drama kid in school, and then I did journalism. So I was working in a weddings magazine, going, "Oh, I love weddings so much, and I can write, and I can public speak. Maybe there's something to do here." And it wasn't really till the beginning of COVID that I actually finally got my act together and became a celebrant. Faked it so hard at the beginning and just pretended like I knew exactly what I was doing, and I've been doing it forever. Yeah, I'd seen one too many bad weddings that it kind of just made me go, I can do this. And yeah, I've never really had much that I thought that I was really good at until this. And it's really cool to be in a position where I can actually say hand on heart, like, I'm good at this, and I think I'm providing a pretty good service to people. So that's a nice little bonus that I don't often get. And so I've been a celebrant for a few years now, with some pretty good success. I'm a bit slack in the terms of marketing. I don't do a lot of socials and stuff. My brain gets busy elsewhere. But I was working full time as well in my day job until I had my baby. So I was definitely doing enough weddings. And then, as anyone who deals with ADHD knows, you have a lot of like ideas, a lot of ideas for other ways that you can get your dopamine fix, I guess, and ultimately help people. So the idea of Love on the Run kind of sparked probably almost 2 years ago, to be honest. And I did get the website up and running about this time last year, and then unfortunately had some rough family news that put that on the back burner for a while. And I've just, now that I've had my daughter and I have free time, whatever that means, I've kind of started to get back into it. And it's still celebrating basically, but it's kind of a slightly different service that I'm offering, which I'm offering to couples and kind of in turn offering to celebrants as well. It came from wanting to provide a less restrictive service to couples who were considering registry weddings. A registry wedding, an official registry wedding, is what kind of people think of when they think of like a courthouse wedding, but we don't have a courthouse anymore. We don't have a courthouse wedding anymore. We don't have a registry office wedding anymore. But not everyone knows that, because if you aren't trying to get married, why would you know that? But if you get a registry wedding in New Zealand now, it does still exist, but exists in a very, very regimented, restricted form. How it works now is, and I don't know when it stopped. It was a while ago. So now you have to apply for a registry wedding and pick a registry celebrant. So that's different from a standard celebrant. Not every celebrant is a registry celebrant. you have to do a bunch of other things in order to earn that ability, I guess. But you have to have your wedding within, it's like 3 kilometers of that celebrant's home. You can have no more than 10 guests. You cannot have a photographer. You cannot have music. You cannot have decorations. You have to say the exact, very, very specific legal script, which is a couple of minutes long. You can't have personal vows. It is very cheap, which is the appeal, but the celebrant is also really, really poorly paid for a registry wedding, basically because the amount that they calculated that on is based on how much time it used to take for someone that was working in the council to perform it. So they're not actually taking into account the fact that a celebrant has to give up their personal time, get somewhere, yada yada. That's me just complaining. But basically, in my opinion, it's a situation where both the couple and the celebrant are being punished for wanting something affordable and simple, which in my opinion is just bullshit. I don't understand why anyone should be so restricted just for wanting to stick to a tight budget. It makes no sense to me. What difference does it make to the celebrant if a photographer is present? None. What difference does it make if they say personal vows that they've prepared? None. So basically, I decided to set up Love on the Run as a way for couples on a budget to get married in an affordable way without being punished and restricted in this really unfair way. It's not charity from me. Obviously, it's a business in that sense, and it's designed in the sense that I would like to be able to work for myself from home in my own hours and be with my daughter. So the way it works is we have a network of celebrants all across Aotearoa. A couple gets in touch with Love on the Run. They let me know when they're getting married, where they're getting married. I reach out to my network of celebrants and find out who is available in that area on that date. The couple are presented with the little very short profiles of who's available. Depending on the area, there might be 2 or 3. If they're in an area with less celebrants, there might only be 1. If they have an option, they can choose which celebrant they'd like to work with on the day. I manage all the communication and the administration and the lead up to the wedding. So I answer all those questions that couples might have. I provide the set script. I do all of that behind the scenes work, and then the celebrant turns up on the day and delivers the ceremony. So all of the Love on the Run ceremonies are set script registry style ceremonies. So that means they're not a fully personalized ceremony. They're not written to share your love story. They're not created specifically for the couple, which is why the price point is so much lower and more affordable. Basically, it's a business model that means that couples can have an affordable ceremony. They don't have to do the legwork of trying to find an available celebrant in the area, and they can just have a registry style, short, sweet, simple, affordable ceremony. And on the flip side, celebrants are getting presented with opportunities to book ceremonies that they don't have to do the administration and communication legwork for, which is where a lot of your time gets taken up by just answering basic inquiries and that kind of stuff. So it's kind of a win-win for couples and celebrants and myself. And it also just means that couples can have that registry style ceremony without all of the restrictions of a legal registry wedding, because your wedding and how much you enjoy it and being able to say your own personal vows to your partner shouldn't be limited to how much money you can spend. That's harsh and unnecessary. Celebrants in general do not mind, well, it makes no difference to our job as a photographer there to capture your special moment, or if you have decorations, or if you want to get married in your backyard, or you want to get married at the pub or down the beach. You're not limited to that guest list, because to be honest, my job is no different if you've got 10 guests or 50 guests. So that's kind of the concept of Love on the Run, yeah, basically it's set up to give couples everything they want and make celebrants' lives easier at the same time, and allow me to work my own hours and work from home and hang out with my daughter.
Yeah, such an amazing concept, and that's so interesting. I had no idea about how the registry weddings work now. I haven't done one of those, what used to be in this like ugly old building in the city that if you wanted
And
to
also,
just go do that basic thing.
photographers don't know what they look like. Photographers aren't allowed to photograph them because you're not allowed to photograph them. So it's a
Yeah, because you used to be able to there, but it was like this horrible red wall. I know some photographers that have been around for a while will remember that, but in Auckland anyway, yeah, that's crazy, all the restrictions and yeah, photography especially, that surprises me so much. So it's so cool that you've created that and yeah, just made that kind of thing a lot more accessible. What can people kind of expect to invest when they get someone through Love on the Run? Is it like a set rate or different
that's
options?
the important thing is it's one flat rate. So it's $375 for a registry style set script ceremony. We've got now over 75 celebrants across Aotearoa, always looking for more to join as well. There's no commitment for celebrants. They don't have to pay anything. All they need to do is be open and enthusiastic and obviously be ready, willing, and happy and excited to marry absolutely anyone. And that means I'm just really, really adamant that the network of celebrants needs to all be super inclusive. I can't imagine anything worse than booking a celebrant and then turning up on the day and having an attitude about who you are or where you're from. You know, like every industry has someone like that, so I'd like to avoid that. But it's the point is we have celebrants all across the country so that celebrants don't have to travel. So there's no charging a travel fee on top of that 375. There is a additional $100 charge if it is on a Saturday. So if you do want to get married on a Saturday, then it would be $475, and that's basically just because celebrants are then giving up opportunities to book personalized weddings for which they charge much more. And I think it's really, really important to emphasize that celebrants in general are really undervalued. People, I think it comes from a place where some people used to do it and consider it as a community service. And it's not until you actually create these personalized ceremonies that you realize just how much work and time and energy goes into it. So I don't want anyone to think that I am implying that celebrants are charging too much, because that is definitely not the issue. If you are wanting a fully personalized ceremony, then you should be paying a premium. And celebrants should be charging a premium because they should value their own work. And I would never want to undercut the celebrant industry. Really, really simple option. And it's not all couples that just want to elope or that they can't afford more. There are just some people that that's not their priority. Call me crazy, but I'm fine with that. If your priority isn't the ceremony, that's not super important to you, that's okay. And I think that's probably a somewhat controversial opinion in the celebrant industry, is that celebrants can get upset that they think that people should put more emphasis on the ceremony itself, which I completely understand, but not everyone cares about it. Yeah, if they want to spend more money on photography, or they've got a dream venue, or maybe they're just incredibly shy and they want the ceremony over and done with as quickly as possible, then who are we to judge? That's fine. Do what makes you happy. It doesn't bother. It shouldn't bother anyone.
I know a lot of people are just, it's like makes them nervous being in front of that many people, or they just really want to do their vows privately as well, which is something you could do if that's what you were doing. And so it was just the two of you saying these like words and promises to each other, and then you can do the legal bit properly in front of everyone with a witness, all of that, but keep that kind of like intimate
I tell my couples
private.
all the time that they can do their personal vows privately. 100%. Like there's no legal requirement to do personal vows, but I always say to my couples that I always say it's nice to do them. If you don't want to be there open and vulnerable in front of people, that's fine. Do them with just your photographer. Do them during your first look. Write each other letters and don't even read them out loud. Like, have them give them to each other the morning of your wedding or the morning after your wedding. do it your own way. I've had quite a few couples, they do the whole ceremony with a microphone, but when they're exchanging their personal vows, they do them without, because actually your personal vows are that. They're personal. Your auntie in the back row doesn't need to hear them. I do announce it to the guests. I say they, bride and groom, bride and bride, groom, groom, have decided to do this without a microphone just between themselves, so that no one's like, I can't hear you, because I'm like, I don't care if they can hear you at all. Don't do anything that you don't want to do for the sake of pressure from your family or your friends or bloody Instagram. Just don't. It's not going to win you any points.
Yeah, I don't know. I love the like personalized vows and that you, I don't know, get all these little tidbits about the couple. But yeah, it's totally, you don't have to do it in front of people if you don't want to. Keep it private. Or I think that's great to kind of have both options. And there's been so many sort of like traditions and rules around weddings that people think they have to do, but you can really make the day your own. So yeah, it's amazing for people to hear about this service and options. So cool.
Briefly, my other hat that I wear, I guess, is I manage a property, which is boutique accommodation, where we specifically market towards couples that are getting married and want to have a beautiful space to stay and get ready or celebrate, with their bridal party the day after. So that's View 14 in Mount Eden. We also do micro weddings there with myself as a celebrant, obviously. I think I've spoken to a lot of photographers who firmly encourage couples, if they can justify the expense, to hire somewhere beautiful to get ready. Basically, just because you've got so much more space, you don't have all your clutter in the background. Everyone can kind of stretch out, and also you can have those nice, getting ready photos, which sometimes are the nicest moments. You get some really nice candid moments in there, I think. So that's doing really well. It's taking off. Lots of properties don't love hosting wedding parties, so we've got that kind of niche covered. And then we also host, we're happy to do hens weekends as well, which is really awesome. It's nice to be able to provide that service, because lots of people don't want to touch that. They're nervous about it. Honestly, people are getting married a little bit older. The majority of hens that I see are kind of women in their 30s who just want to hang out at a pretty house and drink cocktails and listen to music.
They're not going to trash your property.
I mean, it hasn't happened so far, touch wood. We did get the neighbours got a little bit upset because their children apparently witnessed a stripper in the backyard. So sad life. They're building a very big
so
fence.
good.
But yeah, that's the other kind of thing that takes up my time at the moment. But it's cool when I get to kind of full circle it. Like I did a wedding recently where they stayed at View 14, they were married at Mantel's, and I was there celebrant and MC. So I got to be part of the whole thing in a really wonderful way.
Got your fingers in a few pies. Yeah.
Yeah,
good.
I'll try and find something else to do.
Yeah, love it. No, so amazing. We'll definitely share the links to everything as well. But yeah, such a beautiful space you've got there. And yes, absolutely agree. From a photographer, get a beautiful getting ready location. I feel like it just makes you feel like calm and happy as well, not a chaotic, messy space.
Definitely.
So which I've seen a bit of.
Yeah.
Yeah. Touching back on the ceremony side of things, again, I know a lot of people are really nervous about that part of the day, speaking publicly, standing up in front of so many people. You've given some great tips about turning the mic off or doing private vows. Is there any other kind of tips for people just how to stay calm and confident on the day?
Take your time. And I think that comes back to this whole thing about like, it doesn't have to feel like this curated performance. I think when you get to the end of the aisle, take a beat, take a deep breath. Have a glass of water on the signing table if you can, if you need to stop and take a little sip. If you are emotional and you're getting a runny nose, for the love of God, just stop and blow your nose. It's totally fine. There's no time limit to a ceremony. The celebrant isn't sitting there waiting, being like, oh, I've got to go to another one. Like, just take the moment and wait until you're comfortable. Obviously, you can take steps in advance. If there's things that you don't want to do, don't do them. Don't exchange vows in front of everyone if it makes you hideously uncomfortable. First looks are always a good idea, in my opinion, for so many reasons. The biggest one being they settle the nerves. You've seen each other. You've had that big scary moment. You've centered yourself with your person, so that element is taken away. And on top of that, you don't then have to leave your own wedding that you've paid for to go like take photos. You can do it early. Which is just a massive bonus in my opinion. I also don't like rehearsals because I think they make a lot of people more nervous than they need to be. Because you only have to rehearse for scary things. It shouldn't be scary, so you don't need to practice. I'll tell you where to stand. Your photographer will gently, encourage you to shuffle if you're in the wrong spot. Don't stress about those things. And also, sometimes people's little nervous habits when they're nervous are really endearing. Don't think that you have to be crazy, confident, Instagram, the coolest couple there is. You don't. It's okay to be nervous. It's okay to cry. It's okay to sweat. You probably will. But I think if you can let go and stop thinking that you're trying to achieve this perfection, then do that. You will have a better time. Go into your whole wedding planning process trying to make your wedding as you as possible, and then you will feel comfortable and you will feel confident because you're doing something that you're comfortable and confident with. You're having a wedding that reflects your personalities and who you are in your relationship. If you're trying to have someone else's dream wedding, you're probably not going to feel great. If you're constantly thinking, oh, did we get that posed photo in that specific way because that's what I've seen all over Instagram recently, then you're not enjoying your wedding. Just go with it. Roll with it. Something will go wrong. Let it happen. You know? The only thing you need at the end of the day is the person you love and to sign some paperwork. Everything else can turn to absolute shit and it'll be okay. But that's why you shouldn't go into debt to get married because you're gonna then feel worse if it does rain. Have a wet weather option. That's another very important one.
Key advice every single day of the year.
Every bride that's like, oh, but it won't rain. And I'm like, yeah, but what if it does? Oh, but it won't. Like, you are going to be so much more stressed the morning of your wedding if you have no backup plan. And also, I would really like to stop the myth that all you need is half an hour for like half an hour break in the rain to have a wedding outside because it is a lie. That's just not the truth. And controversially, I will be the person that's like, yes, it's your wedding, 100%, and it is all about you, and you should do exactly what you want to do. But if it is raining and you choose to have your ceremony outside in the rain because you're adamant that that's what you want, your guests will get soaked, and then you have to just really consider the fact that some of those people may then leave. Because if I was at a wedding and I got soaked to the skin and I couldn't just go get changed, I tell you what, I'm not having a good time. It's as much as it is your wedding as the couple, you want everyone to have a positive experience. So don't do things purely to make other people happy, but don't do things to make yourself happy that could in turn make someone else have a really bad night, if that makes sense.
I've definitely done some weddings where we've just had to make a run for it mid-ceremony because it's bucketing down, and it's like kind of a funny story afterwards, but it's like very chaotic.
If someone's nana is getting soaked to the skin, like, really? That's not a good time. And it's the exact same with the heat. Like, think about shade. Think about if you're getting married in the heat of February and there's no shade and you're not opening the bar until after the ceremony. For the love of God, at least have like water or umbrellas or something. Just consider the guest experience, I guess. Don't change who you are, don't sell yourself out, don't do stupid traditions that don't apply to you because for the sake of doing them. Don't have a religious ceremony if you're not religious just because your nana is. Like, don't do any of that. Do consider basic human comfort. And if you're having a cash bar, which is totally fine, tell people in advance that you're having a cash bar. Just make sure it's like a BYO wedding. Great, have a BYO. Just make sure everyone understands in advance what they are coming to so that they can prepare in order to have the best time possible.
Such good advice. People just don't think about that. Yeah, I've on the heat thing, I've seen wedding guests faint mid-ceremony before. Like, you've really just got to think, is everyone going to be comfortable actually? Because that is important.
Yeah.
Do you have any like favorite wedding venues or career highlight weddings? I feel like this is such an annoying question. People ask people like, what's been the best wedding you've done? But yeah, any kind of memorable ones that stick out over the years?
Yeah, couples get really upset if they think you're favoring one wedding over another. I've had many weddings where I've become friends with my couples, which is really, really lovely. That's probably the best part of the whole job, is just meeting people and actually really clicking with them. I don't really want to marry anyone if I don't feel like we could be mates. I always say celebrants are kind of divided into two realms, and that's like your mum or your mate. Either you want someone who's going to be that like warm maternal energy to guide you through it, or you want someone that you can go and have a drink with. I hope that I fall into the latter category because I'm still considering myself young. Oh, I'm really trying to think. I've recently, funnily enough, I had a wedding which I didn't even write the ceremony. I stepped in to cover another celebrant who could not be there on the day, which is another note. Like, make sure that your vendors have friends in the industry that they can contact if they need to, because it does happen. But I stepped in to cover a wedding, and I fell so instantly in love with this couple that it killed me. Just everything that they did was so them. They were both like real theatre kids, and the whole bridal party were such cool people. The energy was so high. I I ended up with a flat battery, like not being able to leave the wedding. But it was, yeah, I can't even say why it was the best. I couldn't tell you why that one really stands out in my mind, but I think it's just the people.
Just a
Yeah, it's
feeling.
just a vibe. It's honestly just building connections with people and just feeling like you really click is everything. I've had a real like my really early in my celebrating career, I had a really challenging wedding where I had a mum and a mother of the bride and a bride have a full massive argument that resulted in both of them crying, and the mother of the bride trying to leave mid reception and having to talk her out of leaving, and then having to confiscate a bottle of wine off her in the car park. Like, I've had some I've had a father of the groom collapse immediately after a ceremony and be taken away in an ambulance. Like, they're eventful. I mean, weddings are there's always something. There's always something that happens, but that's part of it. I think that's why I love it so
Yeah,
much.
I've got some stories.
Yeah, it's like that
Yeah.
get better work stories kind of thing with police. They bring out, it's kind of awful to say, but they bring out the best, and sometimes they bring out the worst in people. And I love that because I'm fascinated by all that and really.
Highly emotional.
But no, I couldn't point out one wedding and say that was my absolute favorite.
What, in your opinion, makes a good celebrant? Is there anything else people should sort of look for when they're trying to find the right fit for them?
I think what you said just then is what makes a good celebrant. The best celebrant for you is not going to be the best celebrant for someone else. I think to find the best celebrant for yourself, you need to look around. You need to at least do like a Zoom chat or get a coffee, get a wine, get a cocktail, and find someone that you could genuinely be friends with. And this is if you're going for like a personalized ceremony. If you're trusting someone to tell your story, you need to be able to connect with them on a friendship level, in my opinion. I do my best work for couples that I really click with, because if they're kind of a little bit like you already kind of have a sense of their humor, you have a sense of how they would like things to go, and you can kind of hit the nail on the head the first time. Every now and then you get a couple where you write your draft and you send it through, and you do end up having to kind of tweak and go back a little bit back and forth because you're just not quite on the same page, or your sense of humor isn't quite the same. And that doesn't mean that I did any, I still provided a really good ceremony for them, but it wasn't as easy for me, and I don't think it was as easy for them. When you're hiring a celebrant, you're hiring a person. It's not a service. It is like, it's a service industry, obviously, but you're picking a person. You're not picking a portfolio unless you've seen them do another wedding, and even then, like, you're going to get a sense of their vibe. You're not going to know exactly what your ceremony is going to be like. But as opposed to a caterer where you've tasted their food, or a photographer where you've seen their portfolio, or any other kind of part of your wedding, you are hiring a person. So make sure you like them. Because if you don't click as people, you're not going to get what you want out of it. You might get something totally fine, but you're not going to get the extent of how good it could be. Different people will think that different things make a good celebrant, for sure. In my opinion, what is it? Being loud, being confident, being assertive, being fun, being themselves.
So good. No, I absolutely love that. Such a important part of the day. And yeah, you really just want to vibe with the person kind of leading you through that. So good. I feel like you've given so much amazing advice. Is there anything else you wanted to add as we wrap up?
Just to reiterate everything that I've already said, in the sense that if I can narrow it down to a couple of points, stop trying to have the perfectly curated Instagram wedding, because it won't happen and it'll be boring. If you've seen it 100 times, then it's not exciting or new, and just stop. Let exciting, fun, different moments happen. Stop trying to curate everything and rehearse everything, and just stop. Let it happen, and it'll be a good time, promise. You don't have to have a lot of money to have a lot of love, and you don't have to have a lot of money to have the wedding you want to have, and you don't have to do it someone else's way for it to be right. I think a lot of people don't realize that in New Zealand, the legal requirements of marriage are so, so chill. It is one, like, pretty much one legal sentence and signing paperwork. Rings, not a legal requirement. Personal vows, not a legal requirement. Any of that stuff. You don't need it. If you want it, amazing. Do it. If it does not speak to you, for the love of God, just throw it out. It's not necessary. So many people's whole concept of weddings is based on what they've seen in, like, American movies or TV, or weddings that they went to in their childhood, or like Instagram. Like, don't limit yourself. If you love bowling, get married in a freaking bowling alley. Like, get married in a library, get married at the pub, get married in your own home. Honestly, just make it you. Yeah, I don't want the pressure to say make it unique, because I also think that can drive you crazy as well. You don't have to reinvent the wheel. Just stop trying to please other people and start trying to please yourself.
Amazing. It's been so great to chat to you today and just pick your brains a little bit. Yeah, definitely send everyone to check out your work and Love on the Run and everything, the accommodation as well. But yeah, thank you so much.
Thanks for having me.